Welcome to the Calmer Self podcast. I'm Nadine. Join me to learn how to connect with the calmer version of yourself. I'll share with you my tips and coping strategies for reducing feelings of stress, overwhelm and guilt so that you can live a productive life with ease and joy. And there'll be inspiration from other wellbeing therapists, experts in relaxation and fellow calm crusaders. Hello everybody, welcome to my wonderful Calmer Self podcast. Today I am with the beautiful Cyndi Lynne, and I have a wonderful introduction here for you that I am going to read because I don't want to miss anything out. What Cyndi does is amazing and you're going to be so pleased to hear all about it. So, with over 25 years of experience and successfully navigating numerous health challenges of her own, Cyndi Lynne has become an expert in helping women navigate their treatment, transcend their diagnosis, and reclaim powerful, beautiful lives. In addition to integrative coaching, she uses a variety of bodywork, including yoga, Pilates, and Reiki, to move clients beyond the limitations of a diagnosis and back to a full life. Believing that even in the face of chronic illness, we can choose to experience joy and genuine purpose. Cyndi Lynne finds the often lost potential in each of her clients. And that is so beautiful, Cyndi. What you do is so, so valuable, isn't it? So welcome. I am so pleased to be speaking to you today. And I know everyone will want to hear what you are offering people because it is amazing. So I'm so glad that you've joined me.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on. And I have to say, that biography was written for me some time ago, and I still experience excitement when I think about doing that. So It still very much rings true and is at the heart of how I feel and what I do.
Yeah, and that's so important, isn't it, that we are really feeling it when what you do is so, so valuable. But the fact that you actually go, I mean, when I read that, when you first said to me, like, this, to be introduced, gave me chills because what you are doing is so important. And to know that you feel that way still, that is wonderful. And can I start by asking what has brought you to this? You know, a little bit about your history maybe, and what has brought you to doing this wonderful work, and how you put it together as a package for people, haven't you, as a program? So how did you come to be doing this for everybody?
I think like many of us, it's a very long and winding road. And I quote 25 years because I don't want to start aging myself, but really for much longer than that. Being a nurse, leaving nursing, working in the corporate world, working with medical devices, all kinds of different healthcare related jobs. And then feeling the need to work with patients again. And having gone through health challenges of my own, working with family members and their health challenges, I wanted to help people again one-on-one. But I'll be real honest, and sometimes this puts people off. I wanted to help with people. I wanted to help women who wanted to help themselves, who wanted to get better.
Yeah.
And I had seen in the hospital, I had seen in industry, I'd seen with friends and family, people who were victims of their diagnosis, but never really wanted to take ownership or action on their own. They just wanted the hospital or the doctor or whomever to fix the problem. And that, of course, is a choice. And I respect that choice. But I wanted to work with women who wanted something different.
Yeah.
And that's where I ended up here.
I think that's so important, isn't it? Because in my experience, and bearing in mind that I'm in England, we have the NHS, we have, I think, a different attitude to what doctors say and maybe the power they hold. I'm not sure, you might feel a bit differently, but quite often when people get a diagnosis, whatever it is, they just give up. They just go, that's what it is. They might have some history, some stories they've heard before, a lot of fear. And they sometimes, if they're in shock, maybe they freeze. And that classic panic fear comes in, and it's that what I deal with a lot, helping people reduce anxiety and stress, that fight or flight comes in, that's total so quickly. And some people never get out of that, do they? And that in itself is very damaging. We all know, don't we, when we're stressed, we're not using our bodies at the best, our mind's not in the right place. So getting out of that stressful feeling is a start, isn't it? And some people never do that. So you're absolutely right. Some people, and not to want to sound like we're criticizing, but they stay in that place and they don't want to get out. And I think just by hearing what you're talking about, some people might go, oh, there's an alternative, because they don't know, do they? They don't know.
So you have the national health system. We have a very insurance-driven system. We also have kind of a backup system to that. But in general, I think when people hear their diagnosis, it's almost as if they've gotten a ticket for a train. And whether it's the health insurance or the NIH train that they get on, they get on that train car and they sit down and they just tend to take it wherever that train may go.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I talk about with folks, and is very much my message, ties in very much with what you said and what you do. Most anything you hear in the doctor's office as a diagnosis is not an emergency.
Yeah.
It's important, it's serious, it may be frightening, but when you realize that if you're walking out of the doctor's office, it's not an emergency, that means you have time. So you can think, you can breathe, and you can let, as you alluded to, your brain start working again, let your body work completely and become functional and make decisions. And I think that's the piece that's missing when you don't make adjustments to that ticket that you're handed.
I love that way of putting it, actually, because you're absolutely right. You're giving this, you're given a diagnosis, like you say, a ticket. I love that. And people don't know they have a choice, do they? They don't know that there are other things. They hear what they're told. Well, actually, sometimes they don't hear what they're told, do they?
Right.
But if they do take it in, then they just go, that's it. And that takes them on, like say, their ticket to wherever they're going. But what you're offering is alternatives, isn't it? There's lots of different ways. And I love what you just said there about you have time. You have that moment, you can breathe, you don't have to rush into a I'm likening it to when I went through a lot of fertility treatment a long time ago, and I said it was like a conveyor belt. I got on that conveyor belt, I couldn't get off. I didn't make a decision, I didn't make an informed choice. I just went, okay, this is what you do, and I didn't think about it. Looking back, that is not the same as what you're talking about, diagnosis, or maybe it is, I don't know. But that was that I didn't realize I had a choice. So what you're offering is, like you say, it's lovely to hear there's time. You don't have to make a decision there and then. And also that you offer alternatives. And the way that I see it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you will maybe walk people through options. You'll give them alternative ideas, you'll help them, maybe a little bit of hand holding, that's the way I like to put it, and just help them. And it is that what I know so much, and we all know but we forget, is that the body heals itself to a certain degree, but it has that capability, but we need to give it everything it needs to actually heal itself. So we might be given that ticket to maybe medication or whatever, but there are other things that we can do to help ourselves, aren't there? And I think that's what you offer, isn't it? That empowerment and maybe holistic approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of what I do is the navigating part. So if we stick to our train ticket here, when we hear a diagnosis, very often for women, it's breast cancer. And here, in the name of expediency and efficiency, we go from one diagnostic to the next diagnostic to surgery to the next drug to the next treatment, just very quickly. And again, like you said, very much that conveyor belt kind of thing. And what this process of navigating that I do with people is maybe getting that ticket stamped so that we can get on the train in 2 or 3 or 4 days or a week from now.
Yeah.
So that we can explore where we are before we have to start that journey. And we can also set up that ticket so that we can stop along the way.
Yeah.
So that we can assess how things are working out for us. So we can investigate different options, different providers, different ways of looking at things, of giving our body time to heal. Or even if we're going full on with treatments, giving our body time to prepare for treatments.
Yes.
Giving our mind time to prepare
Yes.
for the process.
Yeah, that's very important, isn't it? Because even if we do decide to take that ticket we're given and go down that path, again, you're saying we've got time, which is just so, it's making me go, I feel a sense of relief just by hearing you say that. We've got time and we can choose or not choose, and we can say when. And I love the fact that you go, we can get off that as well. We can get off that train. People don't know that, do they? People don't realise. So that's really valuable for everyone to hear, isn't it? That we can step off. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And realizing that gives you so much more of a sense of control. And when you have that sense of control, the sense of autonomy, that you are an active participant in your care, it's a tremendous boost for your confidence.
Yeah.
And it's a tremendous boost for your whole mindset regarding any diagnosis or illness that you're facing.
Yeah. And I feel as well, I don't know, but mindset is a lot to do with it, isn't it? Like we said earlier, you know, if you just go, oh, that's what someone said to me, and you almost give up, that is not a healthy state of mind to be in, is it? So to give someone that little bit of hope and other ways, and like you say, give them their power back so that they can feel in control, must make such a difference to their quality of life. Like you say, you know, I'm not saying that it will heal them necessarily, but in a way, and I don't want it to sound flippant, but maybe that doesn't matter. It's maybe not about that. It's about how we live our life, like you say, after diagnosis, the quality of life that we can have. And so many people just think, like you say, and you mentioned breast cancer, you hear that and you go, that's it, my life is over. And that's not the case, is it? It's not the case. Whatever the quality is, you know, you can improve that for people, and you can, and that must be a lot to do with mindset. Is that how you find it?
It's a lot to do with mindset and having a plan, having that sense of control, being in charge of your life. And that doesn't mean you can automatically make a tumor disappear. No. But if we have a moment, I'd like to share a story with you about one of my clients.
Yes. Yeah.
And as you pointed out, the outcome really may or may not be different, but the process could have been so much different for her. Yeah. So by the time I met with her, by the time she came to me, she had gone for a routine mammogram, like many folks do, had left work, gone in, gotten undressed, had her mammogram, got dressed, sat there with her handbag, waiting to, the tech comes out and says, yes, the images turned out fine. And then you go home. And if the images don't turn out fine, they sometimes have to retake them. But it's more of a quality of the pictures kind of thing. Yeah. Well, when the technician came out to her, she said there was something that was spotted, and we had a radiologist look at the images, and we would like you to come for a biopsy. So she took her purse and her bag and went back in and got a gown on and went through a biopsy. And in that short period of time, she went from being just a regular person, essentially making her grocery list in the doctor's office, to someone who believed she had cancer. Yeah. And in the process of doing this, on her mind was, I'm going to be late picking up the kids. I haven't had time to call my husband. She couldn't remember exactly what she was told. I mean, it was that fear and that panic. Yeah. Your legs are getting ready to run.
Yes.
And there is very little blood going to your brain in terms of processing and thinking. And this took her by storm because she is a very successful executive woman who manages a lot of people and huge budgets and massive projects. And here she was kind of not being able to figure out how to pick her kids up. And she got in the car when it was all over and sat and cried.
Yeah.
Because all of these emotions, all of these things just happened to her in the span of 2 hours or less.
Yeah.
Now, how different could that have been for her when she sat there waiting and the technician came out and said, we saw something that we want to investigate further, that she would have said, okay, I'm going to make an appointment and I'm going to come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she could have made arrangements for her kids to be picked up and not had to worry about that. She could have brought a trusted friend along who could listen and hear everything that was going on and take the time to process some of this for what it was. It's like, okay, something unusual, more investigation. I'll get these things in order so that I can go into this next appointment fully prepared and supported.
Yeah.
Now, regardless of what was found, what she needed for treatments, any of that, the difference in those two scenarios, just in the diagnosis part, is huge and really will impact the entire treatment course for the rest of that illness.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so right. And again, what you said there is key, because she had the choice. She didn't know, probably, who knows that, to say, okay, I've heard you, if she has heard, I'm going to step away, I'm going to choose to come back. And that, like you say, is so different. So that makes me think about a question for you about when and how do people start working with you? I mean, what's not, I mean, I'm thinking after diagnosis, but what you've just described there is how valuable what you offer before, you know, when you have a test, when you're going in for tests, when you're in the doctor's room or wherever you are, hospital, and you're going to get your results, you know, do you start working with people then? Is that how it works with you?
Typically, that's the target of my educational pieces and the pieces that I write in podcasts like this that I do.
Yeah.
Because people every day go in for millions of routine tests and nothing comes of it. When I typically start working with people is when they have that diagnosis.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, this is the ticket I've been given, this train ticket. Now I need to know what modifications, what stops are available, how long we can stay at any stop, who I could see at those stops. It's not, some people think that it's a form of denial to not just get on that train and take it to its final destination. But really it is just a pause and saying, okay, I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to think about this. I don't even dare say joke, but more people spend, as I've mentioned before, more investigation time before they buy a new dishwasher or a new car than they do before they have a doctor perform an invasive procedure on them.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I've never thought of it like that before, but I'm sure you're right. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that there's people out there doing things wrong, or it doesn't mean that there are people out there who are totally incompetent, although there's probably some of both of those, like there are in any industry. The thing of it is you want the treatment that's best for you, and that a treatment that aligns with your philosophy of care. And so that's one of I have a one-day program where I work with people just on navigating, just on creating this best possible ticket. And we spend the entire day together, either in person or virtually. And we design that ticket so that all of their next decisions are informed with their own philosophy of care, which is the first step.
Yeah.
So figuring out Do I like alternative types of care? Do I want to seek different kinds of support? Who are the people in my support circle? Do I want to build that before I start this process?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I would imagine, because you come from a medical background, but also you embrace the alternative holistic approach as well, you are offering all of those variations, because I want to make it clear that we're not knocking the medical profession here at all.
No, not at
but
all.
We're just adding to it and giving people that choice. And I love that you said, you can pause, you can take a moment. I'm big on that, take a breath, take a moment. Makes such a difference, doesn't it? Just to take that moment. And when it can be a pause, you're saying people can go away and come back. That might be a week or something. It might be longer. Like you say, get your life in order, get your things sorted out, keep going with everyday life. It doesn't have to change just like that, does it? It can be managed in a different way. So I think it's so valuable, and this is one of the reasons that I want everyone to hear what you're saying, because how many people know that actually, even at that point of actually getting a diagnosis or going for tests even, that you can choose a different way and you can be in control of that. And I love the fact that that just takes away the fear, doesn't it, and the panic, which is so, so valuable. So that is really important. I can't emphasize that enough, that we have a choice from every step of the way, which is really wonderful.
And it's not, like you said, not knocking the medical system. A lot of this is done to be efficient.
Yeah.
If you're the person delivering this care day in and day out, you're used to hearing these words, you're used to hearing these messages.
Yeah.
Why waste a trip? You're here now, we'll just do another test. When you're on the receiving end of that, it's not so automatic. It takes time to process. And that's kind of where the disconnect is.
Yeah.
The other disconnect that I see frequently is in referral patterns. And again, very often in the face of in the tone of expediency, wanting to be efficient, a GP will refer you to a surgeon for a particular thing. Well, surgeons are fabulous. Surgeons have one tool in their toolbox, and that is surgery. So if there's other medical options, that would also be a choice that you'd want to think about and make.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the process is really, because I've had people say, Cyndi, how as one person can you possibly know all of the diseases and all of the diagnoses? And I don't. And I don't, and nobody ever could.
No.
But the questions, the determining your personal philosophy of care, and then the questions we ask are kind of like that train ticket. Doesn't matter what your destination are, you're going to want to know, where's the restaurant car? What stops are we going to make? What sites do we see at those stops? Who do we visit at those stops? So, for example, when it was discovered that I had nodules on my thyroid, my GP referred me to a surgeon. Everything in me said, wait a minute here. Your thyroid is a gland, and endocrinologists are the specialists who deal with the function of glands.
Yeah.
If for some reason my thyroid gland is struggling, I want to go investigate how to correct that rather than have it removed.
Yes. Yeah.
And most people don't know to do that.
Yeah.
Or don't know the words to use to make that happen.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, you can come in with that. Like you say, you're not an expert on everything. You don't need to be. But you can maybe put those questions in and those alternatives. And what about this? What if, that kind of thing, which is so important, isn't it, for people to actually go, rather than have the blinkers on and go, I'm doing what I'm told. That kind of, think about this, think about that, and open up that possibility, the conversation, at least, the possibilities, and then actually go through a process with you, which actually, because I'm sure, people must lean on you quite heavily in that way because they need to. And I think that is so lovely for people to be able to do that, isn't it? And go, oh, I'll ask Cyndi. I can, even if it's just to chat things through with you. rather than maybe a close relative who's worried too or something, that there's value in that, isn't there? The fact that you can, like you say, just step back and actually go, right, how about this, how about that? And how lovely to have that support. It's really, really important, isn't it? So, and it just must change so much, mustn't it? So I think, so how would people start with you? What would they do? I mean, obviously we can talk about where we can find you, but what is the normal process? Is it that they get in touch with you and say where they're at and what they need? Because I imagine everyone comes to you at a different place. So how do people start with you?
Yes. So I get people who are newly diagnosed. I get people who are deep into the process and things just aren't going the way they want, and they kind of want to revamp and recalibrate. And the easiest way, and I would tell you to do this with any of your practitioners, is get on a call. And a consultation, half-hour consultation, is absolutely free.
Yeah.
They can set up a time on my calendar, on my website, pick something that works for them, and we sit and talk just like you and I are.
Yeah.
And it gives them an opportunity to say, okay, I think you can help me, or nice meeting you. I don't think we click, whatever the case may be. No one's ever under any obligation. And then we talk about, what is it you are looking for? What do you want this to look like at the end of this journey? And should they choose to work with me, we set up a day and we work together. And we literally create these things. So it's not just an education and off you go. We create lists of questions that you can ask your physician, types of physicians that you can contact, individuals you want in your support circle, and how best to use them.
Yes. Yeah.
Communicating with your coworkers, communicating with your boss if you work for someone.
Yeah.
How do you tell family members?
Yes. Yeah.
All of those kinds of things get mapped out to the degree that the individual wants them.
So important, because I've known people, and you must know too, people that don't tell people. They keep it to themselves, which again is not the best way for healing, is it? But because they don't know how to say it, they don't know what to say. So again, that's another area, isn't it, where it's so valuable to have someone to, like you say, maybe suggest some words, the way that you bring up that conversation, because it is, so many people sit with all of this on their own, don't they? And so it sounds wonderful that you offer this. And I'm getting from that, there's no right or wrong time. It can be at any stage. It's never too late, which is important, isn't it? And it's
Absolutely
never too early to sort of get in touch with you. I'm a little bit like, I'm very much into, I think all these things should be on a curriculum. They should be taught in school, shouldn't they? What do you do? How do you react? I'm very much in that with so many things, because if we have, they're life skills, aren't they? If we have these skills.
How to be a good consumer of healthcare.
Yes, because we don't know, do we? We just don't know. And we do have that kind of, doctors know best attitude. A lot of people do. And actually, not saying that they don't, but there are other ways, aren't there? And there's more
other
support.
Considerations.
Exactly. Yes. Considerations, that's a much better word. So, but I love that so much. So obviously I met you because we are both in the KS Media Group app, which is wonderful. So everybody can find you and what you do there, can't they? So it's the KS Media Group app. You can download it on your phone. It's free to set up an account, and you can find Cyndi there, and all that you offer is in there. Is there anything particular in there that you want to point people at to look for you?
Yes, actually, what we just touched on, the communication piece, I have a free ebook in there that talks specifically about how to share your diagnosis and maintain your privacy. So who to tell when, and how to decide ahead of time how much you want to share and with whom, because that's a big struggle for people. Like you said, it's not good to keep it all hidden, but you also want to communicate the message. You want to think about what you want to communicate so that the message doesn't get away from you.
And again, it's coming back to giving yourself that time and empowering you to actually use the right words, use the right way that you want it. So that's a free ebook that you can get.
That's a free ebook. It has sample language and questions to consider for all different types of communication: work, home, relatives, friends.
Brilliant. Oh, I love that. That's going to be so good for so many people, isn't it? That is lovely. So where else can we find you, Cyndi? What, have you got a website people can go to?
Yep, CyndiLynne.com.
Brilliant.
That's where you find me, find my programs. I have a fabulous monthly membership program for folks that are coming out the other side of diagnosis and are rebuilding different parts of their life. It's really, I'm really excited about working with people on the whole continuum.
Yeah, and I can see, you know, every step of the way, so valuable. So I think this is such a wonderful thing. That's why I say I'm really pleased to talk to you, because everybody needs to know about what you do. So important. So I want to get this message out loud and clear. I normally ask at the end of these chats with people for some words of wisdom. You've given us tons already, but is there one thing you'd like to pick out, maybe of what we've said or maybe we haven't said, that you would like people to really hear from what you've been talking about?
Yeah, I'd like to tie it back to what you do and your message, because it was one of the first things that I thought of when you asked me to join you. And that is, know the power of finding joy in moments. So no matter where you are in your diagnosis, no matter where you are in your illness, in your healing, when there are moments, give yourself permission to feel that joy, to release the fear of what's to come, to release the pain of what's happened, and experience joy in the moment.
Beautiful. I got chills then. That is so beautiful. And I love it. You've given everyone permission, because I think a lot of this comes with guilt and, you know, we can't be happy, that kind of thing. So you've given permission to everybody to feel that joy. And yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I have loved chatting to you. I could chat to you for so long. So you must come back. We must have another talk to share some more of what you're doing. But thank you so much for today. I know this is so important for everyone to hear. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Calmer Self podcast. Please rate and review. And if you want support, advice, accountability and inspiration to make the changes you need to manage your stress and live your life with ease and joy, check out the Calmer Self Facebook page. There's also more information on LinkedIn, Nadine award-winning changemaker, and please visit my website www.calmerself.co.uk.